What's going on, people? Welcome back to another powerful episode of the podcast. My name is Andy Milligan. I am the host of Marketing by Design and the founder of MMG Design in Columbus, Ohio. From the top, a couple updates before we jump right on in and learn about Asaf, who's going to be our guest today. We've got a couple company updates. We are running and gunning. We have a ton of active projects in phase. We have 10 or 15 podcasts to, roll out in the coming weeks. So a lot is going on here. And we're trying to take a bit of a step back, enjoy the process, and take everything in stride. We're going to have a couple of big site launches coming up in the next few weeks, but we'll keep you guys posted over on LinkedIn if you guys want to see some of the work that's coming out in the agency. But to the topic of this episode, introducing our guest. Today, we're going to be joined by Asaf Bachman. If you guys aren't following Asaf over on LinkedIn, that's your next action item for after you listen to this. But Asaf is a brand and graphic designer based in the Northeast near Buffalo, and he's the founder of Bot Creative. He's become known for his personality as the brand chef. You guys will see in his headshot and all of his online photos. He's always wearing that bright red chef's hat, which is his trait and signature. If there's anyone that knows brand, it's this guy. And Asaf and I have been connected for a while, and I'm super stoked to introduce him to the Marketing by Design audience. But in this conversation in particular, Asaf and I are going to be talking a lot about running branded marketing workshops, how you can become a thought leader in your space, how to outreach to the right hosts for events like this to get in front of the right audience, and everything from the outreach to the preparation to creating, workbooks and everything like that for your audience. So if that's something that you guys are interested in, you have a niche and you want to start doing more thought leadership content in person, be sure to listen to this episode because we get very tactical on putting together a brand workshop and what that looks like for a marketing crowd. We're also going to talk a little bit about Asaf's story, his background in food, how that impacts his personal day-to-day, and how he uses it to tell his story on LinkedIn. So, huge thank you to Asaf for coming on. Make sure you guys check out all of his links below. And if you guys want a free homepage audit, we've done over 100 of these over at the company, and it's a great way to identify some of your lowest hanging fruits without having to invest in a developer or a designer to come in and revamp your whole site. We do those for free, and that'll be in the first link below if you want some helpful advice and another set of eyes giving you feedback to get you on the right track. Again, thank you to our partners over at the AMA Columbus chapter for being our presenting sponsors for this episode and every episode of Marketing by Design. We gratefully appreciate you, and be sure to check out our events that are coming up soon. But without further ado, welcome to entry number 101 of Marketing by Design with Asaf Bachman. Let's dive on in. But yeah, give us a short version of Asaf and the brand chef and the origins of all that.
Well, Andy, I really appreciate you having me on this podcast. I know it's been very successful for you, and I see you've had a lot of really creative and interesting people on it, so I'm really honored to be on. So essentially, I was part-time chef, kind of wandering through life, really with no aim. I went to school for graphic design, but that really didn't end up being what I did full-time. Met my wife, settled down, and just basically was working in actually a cesspool company for about 10 years, where I kind of did graphic design on the side. So after a long time, I opened up my own agency, Bach Creative, and really started to take design a lot more seriously, take business a lot more seriously, and try to maybe build it out into a full-time thing. And over a couple of years, I had gone through, I think, 4 rebrands myself, actually, until I had met Arthur Germain through a local Chamber of Commerce event that we were both asked to host. To be a part of, and so I reached out to him. We started started talking and getting along really well, and realizing that although we overlap in brand strategy, we both take it in different directions. He does writing, I do graphics and visuals, and there's a great synergy between us in terms of working and communicating. And he really his almost like a mentor figure to me. So
Uh-huh.
it's really cool to have him on there. Shout out to Arthur Germain at Brand Talent. And so we sat down for after a couple months, and I was letting out some frustration that I really had trouble promoting myself and getting steady business, and it was really really frustrating. And so within about 45 minutes, we sat down. He basically interviewed me as if he would a client, and birthed the idea of the brand chef. I love to cook. I've cooked professionally. My wife and I love cooking. Food is a huge part of our life. We have dinner with our kids every night. It's a staple part of our family and my life.
Uh-huh.
So having that be part of the brand is natural, and using food language to explain branding started becoming really natural as well, because I notice a lot of people can relate to food because everybody eats food. So certain language is just so universally known already and meaning behind it. So when I say, oh, this is a brand appetizer, people understand, okay, this is the beginning. This is the first thing we're doing. And then there's going to be more after. And I don't have to explain that other than call it with these two words.
Uh-huh.
So the brand chef thing, once someone else kind of spoke to me about it, and I really put my feelings aside, I thought it was a really good idea. So I kind of went all
Uh-huh.
in. I got these red hats, and I started going to networking events and joined networking groups. And that's how I introduced myself. And what's funny is that I was at a networking event earlier today, and I did not wear my hat. And about four people came up and introduced themselves to me. And I said, I already know you. And they said, oh, you don't have your hat on. I didn't even recognize you. And that's the stage where it's at the moment,
Uh-huh.
where the hat itself is almost the brand. And I might need to just change my logo to this red hat at some point.
Mhm.
I don't even know.
Yeah, well,
Yeah,
you've graduated. I mean, that was the whole goal, right?
yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
but yeah, no, man, that's awesome. And you tell your story, and even since we've known each other, you've gotten a lot better at telling your story. You're very articulate about it now.
Thank you.
And I mean, that's great to hear. I think you've kind of come into a little bit. I think whenever we I think putting yourself out there at all, being visible, posting content, you kind of have to take a stance. Okay, how am I going to appear? What is the foot I'm putting forward? What is my message? How are people going to remember me?
Right.
And it's tough, because you feel this sense of like you have to represent yourself well. And a lot of us haven't done, especially when I started posting a soft, like I hadn't done the self work to really know what my main value prop was. And I think there's part of it is finding that stuff out as you do it. So getting the reps in,
Mm-hmm.
but getting really clear on what people should associate you with. And obviously you're the expert on brand. But I kind of view branding in itself as associations, and this is kind of how I explain it to our clients, is that you have a core set of values, principles, ideas that you want people to think of when they think of you. And there's an exercise that I've done before where I don't know, there's probably some official names to it, but there's a lot of people that have taken me through it. Is you basically just jot down what are the words, what are the associations, what do you want people to think when they come across Andy, MMG, and long-term games with the long-term people, high quality work, craftsmanship, articulate speaking,
Mm-hmm.
um, good friend, reliable, things like that. Those are the things that I want to be associated with, and that's how you really go out and curate your content. Um, and I see that from you as well, and you're a true practitioner of it. So I applaud you for that. Something I want to
Thank you.
unpack and double click on, kind of as you mentioned, is networking events. One of the biggest things I learned from you, and I think whenever and you and I share this, is we do both network a lot. But for me, and I think for you too, very much a trained muscle, trained skill.
Mm-hmm.
For me, it was at the expense of, okay, the layoff happened, 14 months ago. I have to spread, spread the umbrella wider. I have to get myself out there.
Right.
Um, what has the impact of networking been for you, not just in terms of building the business, but helping you even get more clarity on your own brand?
Absolutely. I mean, that's hard to be know where to begin, to be honest. But I'll preface it with networking has tremendously changed my business for the better in every way. Not practically every way, but in every way.
Hmm.
I have found vendors that I use for my business, first and foremost, that I can trust, that I know are doing a good job, that aren't necessarily as high rate because they're also in roughly the same level. They're in that grind and grow level where we're all just trying to make it. We're all about providing the right service and quality. But we're not all the best at promoting ourselves and marketing, and we don't have these giant flourishing business, but we have businesses that get the job done and do a
Hmm.
good job of it. It has also helped me stay top of mind, not only with these vendors and they refer me to people, but other people I meet. I tell people all the time. So I joined this networking group. Shout out to Huga, and Huga is all about bringing yourself and your abundant mindset to networking. Uh, it's not about transactional networking. It's really about creating a connection with another human being that could work for both parties over a long period of time back
Hmm.
and forth. It's not, oh, can you do business with me? No. Can I do business with you? No. Next. So that's, I would say, the old style or still abundant networking there. But Huga is different. So Huga is all about building those personal relationships. For example, I can go to 5 events and I could see the same person at 5 events and have one conversation with this person over 5 different nights, weeks and weeks apart. And that conversation by that fifth night, it could be ready to do business. It could be giving me a referral. It could be me ready to do business with them. It could be us ready to do a project together. Maybe someone found a client for both of us. All of those scenarios have happened to me. Uh,
Hmm.
and they don't dress themselves up and present themselves as such. They're uncovered through these conversations.
Hmm. Yeah, man, that's awesome. And I've seen a lot of the similarities as well. Is like you get to recognize pretty quickly the types of people that you meet at events. You start to think, okay, maybe these people aren't in it for the most intense, you know, aren't in it for the best reasons. Um, and there are parts of that, like there's going to be logical extremes to anything. Um, and I think the things that you come back to, things that you actually get value of, like how do you feel after, you leave an event like that, I think is something that you should really keep tabs on just for yourself. Are you energized? Are you excited by the conversations that you had?
Right.
Um, and so much of it too, Asaf, is like just showing up regardless of how you feel. Because something that's been really effective for me is setting those events like that because I am very introverted. Um, like I would much rather. I'm very energized by well, like any of the listeners or you and I, or someone who just needs to get themselves out there. I think this is for anyone. It doesn't have to be. Obviously, the network curates itself based on being business owners. I mean, that's who networking is usually traditionally for.
Right.
But you just have to get out there and fill that social bucket. Especially like us, we have smaller businesses. We're not managing a huge team. We're not sharing ideas with people all day. And
Right.
there's part of it is the in person versus online is a big difference, man. So
Uh, there's no comparison. I
yeah.
mean, I was just talking about, I had 2 webinars that I put on in the last 2 weeks, and I don't want to do them anymore because they're just so boring. I'm
Hmm.
sitting talking to a camera. There's no conversation like there is here. There's no, real organic feedback. It's if person wants to comment a question or use the question thing. But I'm just trying to, you know, stumble over words, over slides, and it just can't be any more boring, in my opinion, versus live workshops where I get to actually interact with people, and then give them some advice and then move on to someone else, talk to them. And while I'm talking to the second person, this first person is brewing up a storm creatively. And then I come back to them 15 minutes later and they're like, oh, Asaf, I have this thought up. I have that thought up. And I will guide them some more, like molding clay, right? It's not always done at first. You got to keep molding it. And then once it's ready, it's ready.
Mm-hmm.
And so I really, really would encourage anybody to do live anything and in person anything, not necessarily instead of web, but at least in addition to. It's a tremendous difference.
Yeah, let's unpack that. So, you mentioned giving webinars. A big part of your business and brand that I associate with, and I think you do a very good job at, is running workshops and doing in-person high-touch events like this where you can really show, your expertise or you're collaborating with a panel of other professionals. Um, give me a crash course. Okay, I'm asking for advice here. So
Yeah.
a lot of the listeners are marketers, a lot of people that want to get into speaking, into sharing their expertise, their thought leadership. How did that start for you? And what is the first inclination to want to share some of that stuff in person, start running workshops, doing that stuff?
Well, I think, Andy, the most important thing is that I am a people person. I enjoy sitting down, meeting someone new, talking to them, and having that natural conversation where I'm actively listening. So they're talking about something in their life, and part of my brain, which sometimes I wish I could shut off, is immediately trying to find fixes and solutions for this person.
Yeah.
And through Huga and the in-person networking that I've done, I've learned sometimes people don't want a steer moment, but they want a hear moment where they just want to be heard and not be steered in some kind of direction or be given advice. And it's more just venting, like, hey, this is just an issue I'm dealing with. I'm dealing with it, and I just want to verbalize it. So, not to get off topic, but having that in-person connection to me, you know, COVID sucked
Yeah.
a lot because it just destroyed that. Um, you know, uh, Seminars were happening all the time. People were going to places all the time, and then COVID hit, and it just went flat. So to me, I know that a lot of people are kind of itching to get back to that in-person lifestyle that was so prevalent before the pandemic. And a lot of kids, who maybe were really young before the pandemic, who are kind of not necessarily entering the working life right now, but are getting older and they're seeing everybody's just doing everything on the web. I like to bring a different aspect to it, kind of bring it back a little bit old school.
Yeah.
So I partnered with Arthur to put on these live workshops. And I will say the most important thing that I will tell you, and I say this because I got negative feedback about my workshop just a couple
Mhm.
days ago.
Mhm.
And so I will tell you that what you're advertising that the person is going to get better be what they get.
Right.
If
Yeah.
you're going to advertise that this person is going to walk away with an ideal client profile, and instead they come in and they have a 2 hour conversation with people, but they don't write anything down, and so they don't have a client profile,
Mm.
they didn't get what they wanted and they didn't get what was promised. And there are different factors that are going to affect what you can deliver to people on the spot. And so my honest suggestion is to simplify it. Don't make anything overly complicated. Don't make it overly deep, but have an exercise that will help people, but isn't very difficult, that you can help, 5, 6 people at a time. So you can talk to them, maybe give them some kind of a intro to the exercise and the benefits and like goals, things like that. Go over the different parts of the worksheet. I literally handed out worksheets at my workshop,
Mhm.
where people had to take old school pens and actually write on paper.
Mhm.
And
Crazy.
it was crazy. But I had one table that decided not to write anything. Everybody at the table was just conversing. And although they probably had a conversation that probably wouldn't have happened anywhere else, they didn't get a tangible that they could walk away with. It was more conversational, which isn't what was promised. So ensuring, just like any good marketing, right? That you're putting your money where your mouth is. You're actually delivering what you're promising you're delivering. You're matching or over delivering. But do not under deliver, because
Mm.
under delivering will create really bad taste in people's mouths, and they will, it's the only thing they'll think about, without a doubt. The only thing they'll think about.
That's awesome. That's so tactical. So let's even take a step back from that and think, okay, a I have a packaged event. I know the outcome that I can deliver to people. I know how to communicate it. I know what it's going to be. Um, how do you get in touch with maybe specific people to where you're in front of that audience where it's really going to be of high value? Does it look like you partnering with someone like Arthur who has an expansive network and similar services? Does it look like doing some kind of outreach to organizations where your audience lives and saying, "Here, hey, here's how I can help out your guys' membership, your guys' listenership. This is what we do. If you're interested, work with us." How does that process look for you, and how do you go about getting that offer out there?
So, to me, Andy, the most important thing is finding the right who's. There was a great book I read called Who, Not How, which
Uh-huh.
really teaches you stop worrying about how you're going to do things and start finding who can help you get them done so that you can move to the next thing instead of getting stuck in the weeds in every single step of every single thing that you're doing.
Mm,
So, to
mm.
me, the first
Calling me out
who,
here. Yeah.
well, believe it or not, I'm sure there's a lot of people listening that deal with the
Mhm,
same exact thing. Maybe they don't realize it.
mhm.
Once you make that mental shift, you can find yourself with a lot more time on your hands, Mister 12 in the Chamber podcast over there. So,
13. Yeah.
essentially, finding the right people, right? So that the way I go about it is who is going to benefit from this type of workshop, right? And then working backwards, who knows those people? So I reached out to business coaches. I reached out to other marketing companies. I reached out to different networking groups. And I would say, hey, I had a paid workshop and a free workshop. With the paid workshop, I would say, hey, I got a coupon for you to use. Your person gets X amount off and you get X amount. We will give you money, and they get it off the ticket, and it's incentive for people to buy tickets. That didn't work once.
Hmm.
But
Okay.
with the free one, we would just basically say, hey, this type of person could really benefit from this workshop. See if you can help them sign up. That worked really well. We had 26, 27 people show up to free workshop that unfortunately my partner in crime, Arthur, got sick at. So I had to handle it all on my own, which
Oh
was
man,
fun.
stepping up to the plate.
Fun.
That's awesome. How did it go though?
That was nerve wracking. Absolutely nerve wracking. But I will say, like, the worksheet was probably a little too complex for 25 people, even with the two of us there, but it was way too complex for one person to facilitate because there were too many people, too many questions, more time needed in order to really get through. So I was, walking around from person to person trying to help them with each question, but there was just not enough brand chef to go around.
Hmm. There never is there, buddy? Uh, but yeah, so I love that. That's very tactical. I love that having a free workshop offer and a paid workshop offer and giving people the optionality. And that's a little bit of the marketing psychology that we talk about a lot is giving people the freedom to choose. Eliminates no as even being an option, you know? So you feel like
Right.
opting in either way is there's a lot less friction to do so. And I love that.
Absolutely.
For you, who have been some of and this is, I think, your branding, your personality, I think is spot on, man. And that's why I'm fired up every time I see your content, I see you putting your stuff out there, is there's a lot of alignment between the version of yourself that I see and the audience I think you're trying to attract. I think you speak very well to people who are kind of in that messy phase, trying to figure out what that brand is for them. And also the the fact that you don't take yourself too seriously. I think with the hat and the brand stuff, I think that very much speaks to working with the type of people that um, support you and fire you up. So I
Right.
think you've gotten alignment, and I think it's just a matter of time before you really start to take off.
Thank you.
And I know how hard it is to do workshops like that, and it's a big reason why I want to have this conversation because those conversations that you generate at things like that where you can show your expertise and like I've never done anything like that, and
You would love it.
the
You would love it.
yeah, I know like you even talk about how nerve-wracking it is. That's I guarantee you, Asaf, like that's something that you grew from so much, just having to do that on your own,
Oh yeah,
and
absolutely.
also just the preparation, the things that you put yourself through beforehand. Like, and this is very top of mind, but I had a call this morning where I was not given the opportunity to prepare for the way that I thought I would. I was kind of set up, and this kind of goes off on a different tangent, but I think having an opportunity where you can control the narrative, there's a lot of pressure on you. You know, you have to deliver that ideal outcome to the audience,
Yep.
um, that thing is tough. It's tough. And so I admire you a lot for doing that.
Thank you. Thank you. And although it was nerve-wracking, it was still fun. And I learned, a long time ago that you just do it scared. It doesn't matter that you're scared. You just do it scared anyway.
Hmm. Awesome. Yeah. So we talked a little bit about the preparation for doing events,
Hmm.
talked a little bit about the outreach, how to get the gig, having that outcome that you can deliver and promise on. Um, are there any other tips that you could give to someone that would want to engage in something like this for themselves? And can you tie that back to more of your experience, just having done it for a little bit so far?
Um, I would definitely emphasize the need for there to be a takeaway for someone who you want to attend, right?
Mhm.
So it's not just, I'm going to throw a workshop. It's the workshop is part of your strategy, usually your business strategy. It's a way to attract people that maybe you couldn't attract through ads or traditional marketing, but maybe they're more receptive to a workshop because they want to work on their own brand. They're not necessarily comfortable with hiring everyone to do everything for them.
Mhm.
So knowing that these are the type of people that are coming to workshops, you really got to plan everything around that personality, right? They want to do things on their own. That means they want to learn. They want to come out of there with a repeatable, actionable step that they know will impact their business more than what anything else they would have just spent their time on, right? So to
Mhm.
me, when someone is even looking at a promotion for a workshop, that's what's going through their head first. It's okay, well, what else would I do if instead of that? And would that drive my business forward? And if it does, even a little bit, now you have competition for your workshop.
Mhm.
It could be someone's meeting, it could be someone's marketing, it could be someone going to take care of their errands because maybe that's the only time that they could. So
Mhm.
the competition for a workshop is unexpected. It's not other workshops at all. It's people's everyday life,
Mhm.
and choosing a place and time is important
Mhm.
because I'll give you an example. On Long Island, where I live, it's generally three roads that you can travel with to cross the island. It's a 120-mile island, and if you're going from one town to another, it could take up to an hour or two, right? So if your audience is relatively close to you, you want to pick a location that's relatively close to them. If your audience is somewhere a half hour away, don't make them drive a half hour, sit in your workshop for a couple hours, then drive back home a half hour. That's their whole day gone.
Mhm.
So that needs to be really valuable for them, even if it's free. Because
Mhm.
if it's not, they'll have a negative taste in their mouth.
Mm-hmm.
So as you can see, there's a lot of different factors that kind of work against you or
Mm-hmm.
that can work against you with a live workshop. But I would still choose them over webinars any day.
Awesome. Yeah. Dude,
Uh,
that's so good. I mean, that kind of opens the book that there's so much more that goes into these things than you initially think. Because all you see is, the LinkedIn post. All you see is the networking that goes on. A lot of the times all you're seeing is what happens on the very short aspect of that paid workshop or free workshop or whatever people are opting into. And when in reality, there's so much pre-work or so much prep that goes into it, not even just from crafting the offer, but and making
right.
it accessible and easy to opt into. Um, so that's really opened
Promoting
my eyes to this for sure.
promoting before and
Hmm.
then after. After you have a workshop, you have a dozen, 2 dozen people that came out there. You have a very strong connection with these people. They should be on their own tag in your email list,
Hmm.
receiving their own set of emails.
Hmm.
And you will be able to, if not convert them, at least make them referral partners with relative ease compared to other people on your email list.
Mm, that's very tactical. That's awesome. See, those are the parts of the stuff I like to clip. That's so good. Um, but yeah, are there any like home run examples, things that you thought that made you think, like reading during the workshop, are there testimonials from results for your own business or things that made you think like the yes moment, like I want to keep doing this, I'm doing the right thing, even though it was hard, you're like, this made it worth it. Or is there any one moment that you can point to?
I had a really tough client about a year and a half back. And when I say tough, I mean they made me go through about 15 logo revisions. And that was the beginning of the project. Then there was the website, which went through its own hell. It was really, really difficult. I wanted to fire this client multiple times.
Yeah.
I did have a business partner at the time for a short time, and they advised me not to. We decided not to. I went out on my own, and this client went with me. And when I did, they left me a review, my first review on my business, and it was a glowing review. Like I saw from their perspective what they saw, and from their perspective, I was very patient. I was very understanding. I worked with them. I was creative and helpful, blew them away, yada, yada, yada. But it was amazing to see how two
Yeah.
different people view the
Like
same.
the review I'm leaving you ain't the same as what you're giving me. Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't. It was rough, but when I read that review, I'm like, well, if I could just find better customers and have better time doing this and get better reviews than this, like I could do this. I could definitely do this.
Hmm.
And uh and that kind of kept me going. And when I think, I have bad days that, I don't know where next month's deals are coming from or there's not enough sales in the pipeline. I think, well, I could either just go back and go work for someone else, which at this point, this brand chef thing has probably made me pretty unhireable. Uh, but then I think back, if I was able to make it through that ridiculous client, you know, I can figure it out. It'll be all right. I might not know right now, but I'll make it through. And it helped tremendously multiple times.
Mm, that's awesome. And I think it takes, I mean, this is a big part of what we run through people with is just being able to identify what you do back to the one moment because you're gonna have to remind yourself of that at the times it does get hard. And that's why, especially like we do a lot of B2B marketing, so it's a lot that's often the resonating point is the founder talk, the mental struggles, the things like that that go on behind the scenes. It's not
Yeah.
talked about a lot. And that's usually a really good in with people to make that connection and be able to tie these stories back to why they started. That makes such a big difference, and it's important to keep those things top of mind. One of my mentors, one of my, one of my mentors, excuse me, his name's Josh Hall, who lives in Grove City. But he has this thing called a wall of awesome, and I'm yet to do this, but it's where you put like all the testimonials they've ever gotten in your business just on your wall, just small pull quotes to when you're going through. I think Hormozy calls it to the valley of despair. So after the initial energies wear off, you've gotten the first couple wins, and then you have to stick it out to, and the downtimes because they're going to happen. Where you have something where you can actually look back to, remember why you started, and really tie that back because and keep yourself grounded at the same time. But I think that's a really good place to kind of land the plane is on a high note like that. But one more thing I do want to ask you, Asaf, is what has you excited for this week? What has getting you out of bed? Any exciting projects? Any recent wins that you want to share?
Um, Totally unrelated to business, but
Mhm.
I was invited to go to like a brand deal thing. I don't exactly know what it is, but it's being hosted by a celebrity chef, and I was personally invited by the celebrity chef
Mhm.
to come, and it's like still blowing my mind away.
Mhm.
Uh,
Yeah.
because I'm not a chef. And this
Yeah.
person knows I've talked to this person before once, where I kind of fangirled a little bit, not gonna lie. And did it, just like you said, right? I put myself out there. I embarrassed the shit out of myself in front of this person who I've been watching on TV for 15 years, maybe 10 years.
Oh my
Uh,
gosh. Who is it?
I can't say.
You can't?
I can't say.
Dude, like there's only a few people it could be. Now if it's been 15
I
years. Like
know,
I
but I can't say.
all right, we'll talk
But
off camera then. Yeah.
yeah, well, I'll definitely talk off camera. But it's exciting, man. Only because it really doesn't have to
Cool.
do with design; it has to do with food. And I get to bring my wife, so we get to be foodies there. It's really cool.
Dude, that's awesome, man. Like I love that. Love that for you guys, man. Great vibes as always. Where can people
Thank
go
you.
if they want to learn more about you? LinkedIn, website, brand chef, where should they go?
Thank you, Andy. I really appreciate being on the podcast. It's been absolutely phenomenal. To find me, you can go to bachcreative.com. You can look me up on LinkedIn, Asaf Bachman, where I post multiple times a week with Andy as well. I'm not as consistent as Andy. His posts are a little bit better. He's got a great video with a handsome guy in it. I don't got that. So you definitely can catch content. And I have an email newsletter, the Brand Chef newsletter, which comes out every Saturday morning, all about branding, brand strategy, design, things like that. Once in a while, I'll throw some recipes and food in there too.
Awesome. We'll link all that below, man. Appreciate you coming on.
Andy, thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you all for tuning in this week. And a huge shout out to Asaf for coming on the podcast. That was a lot of fun. Make sure you guys give him a follow over on LinkedIn and be sure to book your website audit if you haven't already. Totally free look at everything you're doing under the hood on your website. Optimize those online properties and put your best foot forward. That'll be in the link below. Be sure to check out American Marketing Association as well, our presenting sponsors. But until then, we'll see you guys next week on Marketing by Design. Peace.